Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Your Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Smile 2, the follow-up to a movie that probably didn't need a sequel. It was a really good horror movie. It came out a couple years ago. Well, now we have a sequel. We have Smile 2. Is this sequel worth watching? Is this sequel a worthy follow-up to a very, very good horror movie? My hot take is, look, I think you should watch it. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a solid follow-up to a really great horror experience with everything you really love about horror. It had an amazing performance by Naomi Scott. It had unsettling sound, intense tension, supernatural elements, and plenty of gore. So, if you like horror movies, you're going to love this movie. If you don't like horror movies, you still might like it, although this is a beautiful, beautiful horror experience. So I definitely think you should check it out. Check it out in theaters. Check it out with friends. This is a great movie to see with friends. There's so much going on. There's so much gore. There's so many jump scares. There's things like that. There's a really good movie to see in a theater with a crowd. So, all that being said, I'm going to tell you about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, and you might not, there are some big shocks. As with all horror movies, there's some big surprises. I would turn off when I get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. Let you when I get to those spoilers. So, in Smile 2, you have a global pop sensation, Skye Riley, who is about to go on a world tour after taking a long hiatus to recover from an injury. But as the pressure for the tour builds and as it gets closer and closer, something else seems to be happening to her that might be even scarier than traveling the world and performing in front of millions. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, I love Naomi Scott. I thought she did an amazing job. Like, I know horror never gets the recognition it deserves for good acting, but she did fantastic. She did so good. Such a tough role. Like, she has to sing, she dances, she has serious scenes, she has like scenes where she is terrified, she has scenes where like the thing is taken over her, so she has to be like demonic. Like, it is a wide range of different types of performances and emotions, and she does an amazing job. She kind of carries this movie with her performance. I wish horror would get some sort of recognition for acting because Naomi Scott definitely deserves it. The second thing I love the opening. It's a great opening. It starts this nightmare off perfectly and connects this movie to the first one, which I liked. I really liked that little touch that they had at the start. Definitely a really solid way to start this movie, especially if you've seen the first one. The third thing I love the sound. Smile has had good sound. Smile 2 has really good sound as well. Just wonderful use of sound to like have something happen in your periphery to let you know that something weird is happening, or have like some ominous music or some ominous sound effects happen to let you know that something bad is going to happen. It definitely helps to like keep you on edge, and that's what you want for a horror movie. Also keeping you on edge, the tension. There is so many amazing tense moments in this movie. I mean, Smile is about kind of like the tense moments because they're seeing something that doesn't actually exist. And so oftentimes like that thing will be smiling at you until you look away and then you look back and it's like closer. Those types of moments are there. Dark rooms where you kind of hear something and you're not sure if there's anything in there are there. Just all sorts of really great tense moments that are going to keep you on edge throughout this movie. The the fifth thing I liked, the effects and the gore. What an amazing, what a wonderful use of effects and gore. It is a lot practical. It's some CG. There are definitely some CG, but it does a good job of like making them feel grotesque and painful and horrible and just giving you what you love about this. Like, Smile had some really horrible deaths, and this movie just ratchets that up. The sixth thing. One, two, three, four, five. The sixth thing I love the slow build up. I mean, that is kind of what was part of Smile, and now is part of Smile 2. I mean, this thing, like most horror, starts off fairly mild with a shocking moment, as they all do, and then slowly builds and ratchets up as it gets worse and worse. This is no exception, and when it kind of ratchets up all the way, it definitely gets a little crazy. And the last thing I love the twists. There are definitely some twists in here, some things that you don't expect, some things that kind of like keep you wondering what is going on, and it's kind of a nice way to kind of like have this movie progress. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much. One minor thing, just a minor thing about the end. I'm not going to go into it here. I'll go into the recap. Didn't affect my enjoyment of the movie. I really like this movie a lot. I thought it was a really, really good follow-up. I liked Smile, and now I really like Smile 2. So definitely check out Smile 2 in theaters on October 18th, 2024. And if you do see it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And I'm going to really quickly go into a recap right now. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So, like I said, Smile 2 has a fantastic opening and it connects the first movie to this movie. So it starts with our friend Joel, the survivor of the last movie, the one that the smile demon, whatever, got transferred to. He is sitting in his car waiting outside in the snow. And then he starts walking towards his house. And as he's walking, he passes like something on fire, like a person on fire. And you're like, that's weird. And he just kind of ignores it. And if you've seen the first movie, you know what that is. That is a like reference to his, I don't know, kind of estranged girlfriend, Rose, who he helped through her possession, and then eventually she lit herself on fire and caused the possession to come to him. So he passes it, he doesn't even look at it. And this is a nice little touch because he knows what is going on, because Rose explained everything to him. So he knows all the rules, he knows what has to happen. And so he just ignores this like burning thing next to him and keeps walking. He goes into some sort of drug dealer's house, confronts a drug dealer, and like kills one of his henchmen right in front of him in a horrible, gruesome way. Well, unfortunately for Joel, this drug dealer pulls out a gun and tries to shoot Joel, and Joel instinctively shoots back. Joel gets hit in like the arm, but he shoots a drug dealer in the chest. So the drug dealer bleeds out. He's like, no, no, you can't bleed out. Like, it needs to transfer to you. It needs to transfer to you. I think he wanted to transfer this to a scumbag so that they would suffer, he would survive, and probably no one would think anything of it if like some random drug dealer got shot. So I think that was his whole plan. Unfortunately for him, the drug dealer died, but I guess fortunately for him, there was someone else in there. This kid named Lewis is there buying drugs, and so presumably it transfers to Lewis. Now Joel doesn't have time to think about all this because some other gangsters come up and they see Joel. They're like, "Who are you?" And they start pursuing him. He runs. There's this really nice like chase scene through the house. It has a really good, like actually like really good kind of like camera work here. It makes it exciting. It kind of like looks like a one shot. I'm sure it's not a one shot, but they make it look like a one shot as they trying to escape. He eventually escapes this house as people are pursuing him. They're shooting at him. He's running. He's running. He runs in the street, and then bam, hits by a truck, dragged by a truck. Beautiful gore effects here. The camera pans up. You see the blood stain on the concrete. You see like a piece of his foot on the ground, and like the little touches here, the foot is steaming because it's snowing out. Like it's cold outside. There's snow on the ground. The foot is steaming. Love that little touch. You see the gore trail. It kind of like loops over, and then you see his body, and the gore trail makes a smiley face, which is a great way to then introduce Smile 2. So that's how this movie starts. Then we meet Skye, who is coming back after an extended leave for a world tour. She was involved in a car accident that killed her boyfriend and seriously injured her. So she has been recovering since then, and now she's coming back for her first tour since then. She's been out for about a year, and she still has some effects of this. She has some psychological effects, but most importantly, she has some physical effects. Her back is still messed up, and because she has a history of addiction, the doctors won't prescribe her anything stronger than like Tylenol. So she has been taking Vicodin that she gets off market. And so she runs out of Vicodin. So she calls her high school friend Lewis, who seems to have given her drugs before. Maybe she just knows that he can get them. And she tries to get some drugs from him. But when she gets there, Lewis, our friend Lewis, who was in the drug dealer house and had the thing transferred to him, he's not in a really good place. He seems erratic. He seems paranoid. He like threatens Skye and then like snaps out of it. Seems like he is going through everything that you would expect a smile victim to go through. Now, eventually, Lewis ends up killing himself, and he kills himself in a wonderful way. He takes a 35-pound plate, like a weightlifting plate, and just bashes his own head in multiple times. Skye sees this. She is both traumatized by this, but then she also gets the demon in her. So she goes home after this. She thinks about calling 911, but then she can't call 911. She was like there to buy drugs when a drug dealer died. She can't call 911, so she leaves, goes home. She has a traumatic first night, and then she starts seeing, Lewis's smiling dead face, and then she starts seeing her dead boyfriend as well. And that is the more traumatic one. Her dead boyfriend shows up. She has some other instances, some other things that happen, but overall, things don't go well for Skye. Now, as the pressure is building on Skye, as the tour is getting ready, her mother suggests that she calls an old friend, someone that she had a falling out with, this friend named Morgan. They were childhood friends. They were best friends. Something happened. We don't ever really find out what, but they had a falling out. She hasn't talked to her ever since. And so she finally calls her over, And Morgan agrees to come by. She comes, they make up, they have a fun night. Skye gets some sleep, but Skye then has like more visions. She is missing her commitments. She's not sleeping well. She's kind of falling apart. She's unraveling. And during all this time, a mysterious number messages Skye asking about Lewis. Lewis, our drug dealer friend who killed himself with a 35-pound plate. Should use a 45, man. I mean, like 35 is fine, but like if you're gonna kill yourself, you want to use the heaviest weight you can, use a 45. And then at least when they, look at your body, at least you'll have more weight, right? You want to die with all the weight around you to show how in shape you were. But anyways, that number starts asking about Lewis, and then it starts demanding that they meet up. Eventually, Skye does meet up with this person as she is having visions, as things around her are unraveling. And we find out who this person is. It's this person named Morris who knows all about the demon. And he tells Skye about this and how crazy it sounds. And he's like, I know you think it's not crazy because you're still here. And we find out that Morris had a brother who had the demon, and his brother begged Morris to help. But Morris didn't believe him. He thought his brother was like on drugs. He thought his brother was falling apart. And eventually his brother used a crowbar to like claw off his own jaw. Not good. Morris didn't get it, but Morris dealt with the guilt of not helping him. So after this, Morris began researching this demon and following its trail, following the people that committed suicide. He eventually was going to go to Lewis, but Lewis killed himself too early. He got there after Lewis had killed himself. And so on Lewis's phone, he found Skye was the last person that Lewis had called. And so he figured that Skye had it. And so now he is confronting Skye because he thinks he knows how to kill this demon. The demon needs to kill itself with another willing host nearby, another living host nearby, so it can transfer to that host. Morris seems to think if you kill yourself and no one's around, the demon won't be able to transfer and it'll starve to death. And so he wants to hook up Skye. Morris is a nurse, he's an ER nurse, so he has a little bit of insight here. He wants to stop Skye's heart for a certain amount of time so the demon dies, like gets out, doesn't have anywhere to transfer, dies, and he'll start Skye's heart back up. Skye thinks this is crazy, as you would, and so she eventually leaves. But unfortunately for her, things start getting worse. And she's rehearsing for her show. It's a big rehearsal, and there's an incident. She hallucinates that, I think her dead boyfriend was there or something, and she falls back and then hallucinates that she'd broken her leg. She hadn't. Everyone's concerned about her. Later, she goes to a fundraising event for some charity organization. And while she's there, she just bombs it. She sees her dead boyfriend. Her dead boyfriend starts like walking up to her. She starts screaming at him, and no one else can see. So she looks like she's just screaming at an invisible person. And then, as some old lady is trying to help her, to like stabilize her, her dead boyfriend like appears right next to her. She like jolts from it, knocks this old lady off the stage onto a table. Not good for Skye. And of course, everyone's recording it because everyone has smartphones. So Skye is not doing that great. That night, she goes back to her apartment, and unfortunately for her, the smiling creatures are there too. It's a wonderful scene. It's like her full dance entourage is there, all with their horrible, creepy smiles. And they are looking at her, and she like looks away and turns, and they're closer, but they go in like a choreographed dance way. So they're not like moving, but next time they appear, they're all in like different dance poses. And then she looks away, and they're all in like new dance poses closer. And eventually they start pursuing her in like a dance type way as she's running away in the apartment. And eventually they all grab her. They beat her up. They attack her. And then she eventually wakes up in a rehab facility. Her mom is there. And her mom is like, you've had so much going on. You're going to take a day to recover. You're just going to relax and sleep and try to get better for the tour because the tour starts tomorrow. But unfortunately for her mom, the demon eventually comes here too and takes over her mom. Her mom smashes a mirror, grabs a shard of the mirror, and stabs herself multiple times. This guy is just witnessing this. She is horrified. She tries to leave this room, and when she's leaving, she grabs the door and realizes that she's holding a bloody piece of mirror. So, seems like Skye is the one that killed her mother. So after this, she tries to cover it up. She tries to escape, and as she's leaving, she's like, looks insane. She's like in half a hospital gown. She has like a sweater over, but like the bottom half of her hospital gown is there. It's full of blood. People are seeing this. They're recording it. And eventually she sees Morgan, her friend that was there earlier. Morgan came to visit her in the hospital. She's like, Morgan, get in. We got to get going. And they jump into her car and drive away. Now, she texts Morris and be like, I want to do it. Let's do it now. And Morris gives her an address. She starts going there, but as she's going, Morgan is driving, Skye is in the passenger seat, and she gets a phone call. She picks it up, and it's Morgan. Morgan is calling her, and Morgan apologizes for not talking to her, not responding to her voicemail. She was out of the country for a few days, so it's been a few days since she got her voicemail. And she's also surprised that Skye would even talk to her because she thought that they were enemies. But remember, Morgan is driving, or is she? That's when Skye realizes that the demon is there. The demon Morgan turns over, looks at her with that smiling face, and Skye eventually like closes her eyes and like says, "You're in control. You're in control. You're in control." Eventually, she takes over. Eventually, she gets back in control of herself right before she's about to go through an intersection. Thankfully, she must have had some defensive driving because she's able to avoid the cars and continue on and get to Morris's place. Now, Morris doesn't exactly have a great place. He rented an old abandoned Pizza Hut because that is the cheapest place you can get that would have a big enough freezer for them to do this. Essentially, Morris's plan is that they're going to put her in this cold storage unit, stop her heart, and because it's in this like freezer, her body won't degenerate as quickly as it would if you stop your heart. He says normally if you stop your heart, you about 2 minutes before you get brain damage. If we get her body temperature down, they'll have 8 minutes. And he thinks 8 minutes is better because that's more likely the demon will starve to death and die. So he has this whole plan. He's going to give her an injection right in her neck to stop her heart. And then after 7 minutes, he's going to inject her again with adrenaline to like restart her heart. And hopefully this will all work. It's all set up. He leaves to get one more thing, and that is, and after he leaves, Skye is very concerned because he's gone, and that is when the demon shows up in her room. They fight. Skye eventually gets locked in this like freezer, and the demon is like attacking her. And eventually, the demon is on top of her, trying to terrorize her, and she grabs a syringe and plunges it into her own neck, killing herself. The demon screams. It doesn't want this to happen, but nothing happens. And then the demon starts laughing, and it turns out that it was all set up. Skye looks in her hand where the syringe is, and it's empty. It turns out that the demon like lured her here, set all this up, and now she is here alone with the demon. And then we see where Skye really is. The demon like tells her, have a good show. And it turns out that Skye is actually on her tour, in her performance at the start of her tour. She's wearing this outfit that she refused to wear because it was kind of like see-through in the front. It showed the scar from her surgery from that car accident. And so she's doing her performance, and eventually she sees an evil version of her at the stage, and she like recoils from it. She falls over, and eventually that evil version of her like opens its mouth, and this like large demon climbs out. And this is what I didn't love. It didn't look good. A lot of times horror movies, when you have the big reveal of the monster doesn't look nearly as good as you would expect it to. This is no different. It was all CG. It was gross. It was like a meaty, elongated person with like 5 mouths, all smiling, but it just didn't look very good. It looked pure CG. The people, the smiling, crazy people look so much better than this thing did. Anyways, this thing emerges. It like towers over Skye. She's screaming. And then we see what the people in the arena see. And in the arena, we see all of her fans. We see her mother who's there. So she didn't actually kill herself. All of that was in her head. We see her assistant who she'd yelled at earlier. He was there too. A record promotion person was there. But they're all looking at Skye like convulsing on the stage. And then she gets up and everyone like cheers, like, yay, come on, Skye, we love you. And that's when she turns and she has this horrible smile on her face. She grabs a microphone, and we don't see this. We see the crowd's perspective, the crowd's horrified perspective as we hear some bangs, and then we see Skye fall over with a microphone jutting out of her eye. So Skye has killed herself. Well, Skye didn't. The demon won, took over, killed herself, and now someone in this arena is infected with a demon. We don't know who. I'm sure this gives the creators of the next movie plenty of options. I wonder if it was difficult to get the original Joel from the last movie back for this one. So they just wanted to have plenty of options so they could have anyone in the stage, so they could have anyone in the crowd be the new victim. But that is Smile 2. It seems like Skye didn't win, even though she had a solid plan. She didn't win. She ended up killing herself. someone in this arena is infected and the demon will continue to propagate and prosper. So that is Smile 2. Like I said, love this movie. Thought it was really, really good. Really enjoyed it. Definitely think you should check it out when it comes to theaters on October 18, 2024. And if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.